Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm out here at Rising Kale before the church just to check on things and to come and spend some time, with my plants, with life. Got me thinking about what kind of society I would like to build and how we can make a start out in Seguin at that farm. We live in a society of fear, subjugation. Uh, People aren't happy. You can see it reflected when you see the news. And it's really tragic. It's also infuriating. And we got to think about to ourselves, if we could change things, how would we change them? Because I think we live in that time period where we can change things for the better. And if we just simply demonstrate how we would like things to change, others will see that, and then they will think, oh, hey, I would like to do that too. And then you get a start. You start to begin building that conversation and building a new way of life, a life separate from that which has been, inherited to us. And so the kind of society I would like to build is a post-fear society. I'm out here and I'm thinking about how much joy I get from growing and being with animals and just creating life. And I'm thinking to myself, this seems to be a more natural church than anything you would find between walls. I find much more spiritual gratification out of coming out and doing this kind of thing than I do going and sitting listening to a sermon. Although I still go to church. I love church. I always will. It doesn't give enough for me. There's still some kind of hole inside of me that isn't really satisfied by the literal written word. That's one of the reasons that the oral tradition of Judaism has attracted me so much, is because there's so many more layers to God and to the Bible than we were raised to believe. And I enjoy exploring those different dimensions of spirituality. And the Jewish oral tradition, much more so than the Eastern traditions, has really provided that for me. I've found the Jewish tradition to be that central column, the middle path, where the right and the left sides of our consciousness are kind of united into a unified whole. And so I really am attracted to that. But what does a post-fear society look like? Well, it's one where we don't live in a debt-driven world. I think the eradication of debt should be a priority on everyone's mind. Unfortunately, because the way our society is built, that's very difficult, if not impossible, especially because of student loans. Because of my injury in the Air Force and my disability, was given the grace of God to have my student loans forgiven, all of them, in one fell swoop back in 2012. And I also was given the opportunity to have a basic income. So I receive over $3,000 a month because I had both of my hips replaced after my 22-month stay in basic training in the Air Force, where I underwent a freak accident. And they didn't diagnose it for 5 weeks. By the time they did, it was too late, and they said, we got to take both your hips. So anyone wondering how I can do this, what I'm doing, it's because of that. God gave me an education and the tools to kind of put together a comprehensive experiment for our society to investigate in real time and see how things go. And so that's kind of what Lexi and I would like to do out there at Seguin, be able to build a temple of life, create a culture of life where children are foremost on our minds. Our children and our health, that's it. That's really all we want to worry about. Profit motive doesn't really play into that. Of course, we will make money through our creative means, not so much through our produce. In fact, we'll likely give away all of our produce to children. Find ways to get good produce to them in schools, and also try to find ways to get good produce out to people that are on food stamps, and in that manner intelligently work, co-opt government instead of just trying to ask for handouts. But one thing that really strikes me about a post-fear society is the eradication of debt. And so it will take time to build up to that. Some people it's going to be a lot easier than others, but I do believe that debt follows you into the afterlife, and it also follows your children and that is on a spiritual as well as a, physical, mundane level. And so that, is key. I think also being able to provide for yourself, and your family and your community all of your needs, or at least all of the needs that sustain you. Having a basic income has really given me a kind of understanding of the unforeseen consequences of basic income. And I know that UBI is coming. It's coming to the United States. It's coming around the world. I don't know when, but I know it will happen. And it will happen primarily so that people can service their debts. So it will be um, masked in this, altruistic, oh, we're going to help everyone by giving them stimulus checks, UBI. But really, the government and the bankers at the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, we got to get paid. So we're going to give them money so that we get paid, and then we're going to let the people live in squalor. That's exactly what's going to happen. You can foresee that, some of the movies that came out around the pandemic, Ready Player One comes to mind, where, they live in this digital world, and then in the real world, they live in squalor. That's going to be a reality if we allow it to happen. But we do have the agency to change that. And I think it's going to take someone really bold to do an experiment, to start speaking out and start trying to forge a new path. And that's where God has placed me on this planet to do. So eradication of debt, providing for yourself. So you want to eliminate your costs. The more, when you have basic income, the more money you save, the more money you make. So debt servicing costs, of course, that eats away a huge chunk if you have them, which I still do. And then your expenses, your trips to the grocery store. And then the last one is housing. And so housing is another one of the things that we're really going to be tackling out at the farm in Seguin, because I have owned a home and I have sold a home, and it was incredibly easy, both sides of that process for me, because I am a disabled veteran. I didn't have to pay property taxes in Texas. And I realized from that experience that owning a home is really not all it's cracked up to be. Once you get into the home, then you're kind of just constantly working on it. But if you're into a 20 or 30-year mortgage, you don't really own the home. So you're kind of borrowing the home from the bank, and you don't really own it. But you can still be happy in there. But at the end of the day, you don't really own the home. Own nothing and be happy is what they say in the WF. And that's what they mean. This inflationary world that we live in is not going to go away. It's not going to subside because nobody's producing anything. And so it's going to continue. It's going to persist. And the way that they're going to manage that is by providing basic income checks to people. So I can see the writing on the wall of where our society is going. And I know from my experience over the past decade, having UBI, although it is a blessing, it is also a curse. Because you you kind of live every month for the end of the month, or the beginning of the new month when you get another check. And so everything that you do is short-term thinking. It's very difficult to actually build anything, because while you do have money coming in, you are also wanting to live a greater lifestyle to keep up with the Joneses, and so you're taking on debt in order to do that. Servicing that debt eats away in your costs. You eventually kind of paint yourself into a corner where you don't know, or you just kind of live, a miserable life. And another thing that I found is that it really reduces your desire, your willingness to fix things, and to try to build something better. You just kind of simply accept that what you have. If something breaks, like a extension cord, you just, instead of trying to fix it, you just go buy a new one. And what it does is it begins to eat away at your critical thinking ability, your ability to build, to do new things. And the last thing is addiction. When you have money coming in every month, it's really easy to get addicted and stay addicted. And it's a very difficult trap to get out of. And your addiction will always have fuel. You just have to wait till the next month. And so these three things I really see as these unintended consequences of what is coming in the future. I don't know how long, but those are going to be really devastating to this country. And if we do not begin now to build a different alternative kind of society for people to escape to. When that time comes, they're still going to be stuck in their little boxes in the cities or wherever. You know, they're they're wooden coffins, coffins of wood and stone, and they're going to be trapped and not ever going to be able to get out. So what we need to do is preempt this future by creating a template for the future. Because the building part, like, I don't know how to build houses, but I know people that do. I don't know how to design houses. I know people that do. And I also know that I don't want to live in a typical single family home like all the ones you see being built up around the farm out there. It's all these single family home subdivisions that look real nice and fancy, but it's really just a big coffin. And so the goal is out there to build these structures, you know, in a sustainable way, and spend as little money as possible. Find unique ways to build really incredible, fulfilling homes, and then build the farm around that idea that you want to live out there, you want to be happy, you don't need a lot of space, but you want to be able to go outside and you want to be able to enjoy the fruits of God's world, and you want to eat well and be happy. And then of course, you know, you want your technology, but we really, technology is one of those things that we never thought about the unintended consequences. We can see that now in our children. We keep Grace away from technology like the plague, but she's, you know, drawn to it, just like all children are, because it's part of who we are. But what we want to really try to build is a world in which technology is used for the tool that it is, not for the distraction that it always has become. And find ways to use technology intelligently and then integrate that technology into our time outside, growing and spending life. So if you guys have any ideas about building a post-fear society or suggestions, comments, please let me know. This is an idea that's still in development, and it's going to be so for as long as it takes for me to really hash out the ideas to release that video to the world, because we're going to have to be prepared when it happens. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great Sunday and a great week. Take care.